You're going too hard in the gym. You're not working out enough. You're eating too much. You're not eating enough. How do you know the balance between going too hard and knowing like what your body can take? It can be a fine line to walk sometimes. But that's what we're diving into today. So strap in and get ready for episode 100. Let's go.
I've always been that skinny guy.
Why can't I gain muscle mass?
What do I do in the gym?
They said I'd always be skinny.
This is your complete source for how to gain lean muscle and break out of your skinny body. From nutrition to getting the most out of your workouts and everything in between. We know just how frustrating gaining muscle mass can be, but don't worry, we've got you covered. You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast. Hey, welcome to today's episode. Oh man, episode 100. I can't even believe that. It's like this journey started about a year and a half ago of me podcasting. And if you have listened to the early days, the early podcast episodes, they're not very good. You can immediately tell the quality is terrible. The content isn't as good. And that's just kind of a natural progression of things. And I say all that because often when I'm talking with people about getting into fitness or whatever it may be, they're scared because they're like, well, I just don't know enough. Well, guess what? We're never really going to know enough until we start. And nor is that more true than with my podcast because trust me, I didn't know what the crap I was doing. But guess what? By throwing myself into it, I learned real quick. So don't feel like you have to have all your ducks in a row and everything in line in order to start something. You don't. You have to have that drive to get it done and work ethic and discipline to do it even when it sucks. Because sometimes it will. All right, there's my rah-rah for the day. I'm done. All right, so how do you know how much to push? Well, it's really a fine line sometimes. I'll give you a good real world, for instance. In December, I got extremely sick. Now, typically, I'll get sick maybe once a year. It'll hit me. I'll be over and done in 2-3 days max. I don't know what the crap was going around. Both of my daughters got it, and then I got it. And it hit me very hard. I've never had a sick day. I've always pushed through when I get sick and work even a physically demanding job. Like what I'm saying is like sickness normally doesn't affect me, but this affected me hardcore. Like I was down for weeks. I couldn't keep any food down. I had zero energy because of that. I felt sick constantly. My head was throbbing. Like it was terrible. It really was. And I couldn't work out. But I told myself every day, I was like, man, I have to start eating. I have to get in the gym. And all these have tos. But what I was failing to do was listen to, what does my body need to repair itself right now so that I can get back in there and not prolong this. And that's a really hard thing for me, for a lot of people, because we know what we're capable of. And so when we hit this point where we're not capable of that anymore, it's really disheartening and it's really frustrating. And so I think that I don't know about the most. There's a lot of elements involved with knowing how much to push yourself. I'll give you, for example, let's say you're bench pressing and, you don't have a spot or you're not going super heavy. You're just kind of pumping out reps. And you're kind of getting towards the end of how many you can probably do. You usually have that feeling inside of you, if you've been lifting for any length of time, to where like, okay, I know I can get one more and be okay. And that feeling of, I know if I go for one more, I'm not getting this bar up and I'm going to have to shout for somebody to come help. You kind of get used to your limit there. And it's the same way with knowing how hard to push ourselves. Like we have to constantly be thinking of that in mind. And not every exercise, when if we're pushing ourselves on a certain exercise, not every exercise is as kind of life or death situation as a bench press. If you're doing some cable flies and you go for it and you fail, well, nothing bad's really going to happen. Maybe the cable smack back. But that's about it. So, you also have to consider what you're doing and is the risk worth the effort of trying to pump one more out. But it can be really easy to get in the mindset of, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to do my 3 sets of 10 and get out. And we limit ourselves because we go in with that mindset of, well, I know ahead of time what I'm capable of. instead of, let's see how many reps I can get today. Maybe I can get 13, maybe I can get 15, maybe I can get 17. Maybe I can go for 4 sets instead of 3. By not setting those parameters around ourselves, we open ourselves up to being able to push ourselves more than we maybe are used to, or maybe more than we can even think that we can handle. And that's a good thing, because I feel like as humans, we limit ourselves. We limit our capabilities. We limit what we think our strengths are. We limit how far we think we can take things. Just think about all the people who, we hear all these stories of in crucial life or death circumstances, the person that lifts the car to rescue someone, or all these superhuman acts of strength. Guess what? Yes, like adrenaline is a real thing, and hormones and all that plays a role in that. But that capability is there. Deep down, that's in every single one of us. We have that ability to push our limits, to go past that comfort point, to go past that point we know we've made it to and onto a new point. Like, we all have that ability within us. But instead of tapping into that, we pull back. We hesitate. We come up with reasons why it's not a possibility or why we should play it safe. But guess what? Nothing ever good comes from playing it safe. Not usually. I'm not going to say never, but not usually. Usually playing it safe means we're taking the path of least resistance. And as you well know, it's the resistance that builds our muscle. It's the resistance that builds our endurance. It's not picking up the weight that's easy for us and knocking out 3 reps with it. No, it's going heavy on the weight and going long on the reps and increasing that time under tension and really building that strain. That's what changes us. So when you're trying to define your limits and your line, keep that in mind. But on the opposite hand, don't ignore your body, because our body will give us warning signs. Our bodies, if we are in tune with them, can tell us a lot. If you've never done, I'm going to sidetrack here a minute. If you've never done guided meditation, do it. I use an app called Simple Habit. And I couldn't just sit there and meditate with nothing because my mind would wander. So these are just somebody kind of giving you a focus of what you're meditating on. They're 5 minutes long. We all have 5 minutes. But it really helps you be in tune with what you're thinking, with your thought process, and with your body, how your body feels. And I think that's so important, because when it comes to knowing that line, we really have to be in tune with ourselves. I'll give you a perfect example. A couple years ago, I was doing Skull Crushers, and I was going for a new PR. If it wasn't a new PR, then it was definitely heavier than I normally go. And something was like, you know what, this just doesn't feel right. I probably should lower the weight. And before I did, guess what? I strained something and my arm hurt for months, and I wasn't able to do near what I was doing. And if I just listened to my body and knocked that weight back, that never would have happened. And so it's important that you listen to your body. It was important last month that even though I can see, me losing a little bit of muscle because I'm not eating and not in the gym for several weeks, I knew I have to get to a healthy place in order to build that back up. Because if I try to build it back up before I'm at a healthy place, then it's going to have the opposite effect. And it's not going to help me gain anything back. And by giving my body what it needed, now I'm at a place where I can do that. It's no big deal. But it just is a matter of in our minds knowing how to do that, where to draw that line. And it takes practice. You're not going to get it right all the time at first, or probably ever. I mean, it's like a lifelong learning lesson, but we do get more in tune. We do get more comfortable with knowing when to push and when, hey, maybe today's a day where I don't push and I do what I'm used to doing because something just feels different. Stay in tune with that inner voice. All right, so if you are on Facebook, head on over to the Bones to Bulk group. It's an amazing group of people, all walks of life, all stages of the fitness journey, and we're all just sharing the journey with each other. So if you're on Facebook, head on over, search Bones to Bulk, join the group. It's a great place. With that being said, remember, no matter what anybody's told you, what walls you're facing, what things you have to overcome, you can accomplish any goal that you set your mind to. You've got this.